Item number 11 is discussion and revisit of Resolution 669, a resolution of the Mesquite City Council for the preservation, conservation, and utilization of Gold Butte, including the possible amendment, alteration, or repeal of same, with possible action. I will turn some time over to Councilman Hayford.
Thank you, Mayor. I was one of the petitioners, or probably the petitioner, to put this back on the agenda, and these are the reasons why, and then I will listen to the public. I sat and listened to the tech review on Tuesday, and just for the record, as was a bunch of misinformation that was stated in the tech review, this has absolutely nothing to do with the cattle and Clyde and Bud. So I just want that clear. So if you're going to get up and talk about that, that's not why this was put back on. The question is, where does the mayor and the city council stand on this situation? We're going to bring it and let the public talk. This is what you have to say. The second thing that I think needs to be made clear to everyone, that when we have those from Washington, D.C., whether it's elected officials, department heads, I think they owe it to the city of Mesquite and the citizens of Mesquite that they contact the mayor when they're coming to Mesquite, Mayor Mark Weir. So with that, I'll leave it at that for now.
All right. I'm pretty sure you're not all here for budget transfers, right? We want to welcome everyone here for joining us tonight to participate in our discussion of Resolution 669. I fully understand that there are many differing opinions on this particular position, and it's my responsibility to ensure that each side is able to freely express those views. Having sat up here and watched the other side of this, I understand that for some, it can be very challenging to speak in front of a council or any type of a board. I will ask that the audience refrain from outbursts during this meeting, as they tend to have a stifling effect on open communication. When you come forward, please state your name, address, and city of residence. In addition, I would like those who are paid advocates or lobbyists to please indicate as well. Each person will be given 3 minutes to speak. When your light, that light there turns yellow, please wrap up your comments. That means you have 1 minute left. With that, I will open up for public comment on this particular item.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Susan Holochek. I live at 1374 Chuck Wagon Run. I am, in fact, a paid advocate for Nevada Wilderness Project. However, I stand before you as a resident of the city of Mesquite and as the former mayor. I realize that people know this, but I think it's probably important to start off with this. Now, Councilman Craig Hafen, then Craig Hafen, is one of the co-authors of this resolution. This resolution was brought about by a meeting. There was an item agendized at the Clark County Commission. Craig Hafen, Judge Dodd, Councilman Carl Gustavson, and I sat down to address concerns that Craig Hafen and Judge Dodd had, and I know they were speaking for many people in the Valley. We tried to make a conciliatory effort to draw up a new resolution. We already had a resolution on the books, but we tried to bring up one that was more encompassing of the Virgin Valley's thoughts and ideals, and I believe Craig Hafen did in fact speak the night that this resolution was passed. So I would ask you to please retain this resolution. Please retain your support for Gold Butte, both for our economic future and for the fact that we do have land amendments still pending. Thank you.
Mayor, Council, my name is Mike McGreer. I'm a resident, been here 6.5 years, 533 Rolling Hills Drive. Actually, I want to thank Councilman Hafen for bringing this issue up, I think it's time that it be discussed again. We have some new members of the city council, and the public probably deserves to hear what their opinions are on this. As I've told you before, I came from a pioneer family, so I think I understand some of the concerns maybe of some of the long-term residents of here. My family settled in Central Oregon. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is the economic impact that the federal government and other issues like this had on my family and others. You might remember that the Taylor Grazing Act was established in 1934, which essentially set out rules and regulations for grazing. But by 1960, the cattle and livestock in that area had virtually disappeared. To the degree that any livestock was raised, it was in feedlots. And in the areas of Bend and Redmond, which I'm most familiar with, it started to become a recreational community. There was no longer any cattle grazing on Mount Bachelor. In fact, it had become a ski resort. The people that were coming into that area wanted recreation. At winter, they have a four-season resort area there now. That area in Bend and Redmond, where my family lived, is quite different today. It's economically viable. The population is out of sight. Housing prices are quite well established. Most importantly, it is a recreational community, and Bend and Redmond is the gateway to that community. I support the resolution of Gold Butte. I support the Gold Butte effort. I also worked for the Department of Interior for 10 years before retiring. So I not only understand the feeling of my relatives, but I understand the government side as well. I urge you to pass the resolution and for the economic well-being of the city and the area. Thank you.
My name is Phil Parker. I live at 583 Duchess Lane, Mesquite. I've been here since 2002, well, quite a while, and I know most of you on the council. I'm not a paid advocate for Gold Butte, but I am an advocate. I'm not a lobbyist. Well, you could say I am a lobbyist, but I'm not a paid lobbyist. I would not only like to see this resolution kept, I'd like to see it strengthened and maybe get a committee together to force our Congress, who's sitting on their hands, to either make this a national treasure. I'm not saying a national park, just preserve it for future generations, for your children, your children's children, so that it'll be there for them. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Fred Tobal. I live at 825 Palomino Circle, Mesquite. And I know most of you, and I'm sure you've seen me. I'm the president and chair of one of the national political parties here in the city. I'm not an advocate. I'm not a paid lobbyist, if you will, for that purpose. And I'm here with a very simple statement. I'm hoping that the outcome of the revisit to the Gold Butte Resolution 669 results in a rejection of the concept of revoking it. I want to see you strengthen it. There's a great deal of potential. The city, the area is pristine. It's a beautiful place. It has economic potential, and everybody seems to want it. It's very popular. And so my message is very clear, simple. Strengthen the support that we get for it. Support being, and we have to define what we mean by support, is the preservation, the conservation, and the adoption of the Gold Butte area as a national conservation area. And I thank you for the attention and your time. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and staff. Ken Rock, 515 Greensway. I'm here as the General Manager of the Virgin Valley Water District. Recently, I've worked with City staff, Richard Sechrist and John Willis, on population projections with us at the Water District. Based on the housing starts and our new water services, we're still looking at growth for the area as a likely future. So that's good news, assuming our city continues to attract newcomers. I'd like to offer big thanks to both of those staff members for their professionalism and help. Speaking of growth, in working with our consultants, they assure us that the possible designation of the Gold Butte area as an NCA will be possible while allowing for access to the springs and groundwater that we have rights to up in those mountains. We will not have to forfeit any of those resources that are essential for the growth of our community. Thank you.
I'm Tuffy Ruth, I'm a resident of Mesquite. I'm a relatively newcomer. I've been here since 1958. I've worked for Frank Taylor on the Gold Butte area, and I think it should stay the way it was intended. Multiple use. You shouldn't cater to a few lobbyists. We're all taxpayers are paying for it. BLM ought to go back to what they originally set up for in 1946. I've dealt with the Taylor Grazing and Federal Land Commission and BLM. And their specific duties when they first started, for the monies that they raised off the Taylor Grazing fees, was to maintain roads, fences, water holes, and trails. And they, instead of doing that, they've hired these little SS's to run us off the land that we're paying taxes on, and their tax dollars is going to coming to spend to evict us out of our own pocket. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Crescent Hardy, been here since 1957, so a short time also. Also, one of those pioneer ancestors which I spoke of was my family. Dudley Levitt was one of the original developers of this community, so I think I have some deep roots here. But my roots have nothing to do with where I stand. We talk about the economic benefit of Gold Butte. I have studies that I can provide. I'm sorry, I just come in from a legislative committee meeting today to be here, that I can provide you that show something different about the economic benefit of the wilderness area. Utah State University has provided those and done a study. To the contrary, the Escalante Grand Staircase has been around for 10 years, or a little over, and it has actually gone down in visitors. I also would like to discuss the Red Rock designation in Las Vegas. Wonderful area, beautiful area. Costs $3.63 million a year to take care of that piece of property, and it's still vandalized. Now I'd like to talk about the obligations of the citizens of this state and this community. You know, I spent a lot of time out in the Gold Butte area. I've helped many times to clean up the area. My family's been out there. I take all my children out there on Easter weekends. We spend it out there as a place, and it's still a beautiful place. But I feel like I have the obligation to clean it myself. I don't want the federal government involved in my backyard. I don't need to spend any more money than currently be spent all over this nation. What are we going to do? Borrow our money from China so we can have a little designation here to make our economic boon that we think we're going to make? I say no. I say we need to live within our means. Let's take care of it ourselves. Let's talk to the BLM. The BLM doesn't come out here much because guess what? They don't have to. They say it's one of the best kept places they have in the state, so they don't have to worry about the Gold Butte area. What's the matter with that? Doing it ourselves. I appreciate to continue to go that direction. I want to leave it open for my children and their posterity. I'm hurrying. But the thing that I believe that we have a responsibility to take care of ourselves, save it for our children the way we want to save it. All the government wants to do is close it down and start charging fees to put it forward in the future. You're going to have others maybe talk about the issues of what happens in the future once you have a wilderness designation. It starts getting closed down a little bit at a time. So that's just my comment. Thank you.
Again, I'm going to ask that we don't have any outbursts, please.
My name is Dina Cedar, and I live at 378 West Thomas Avenue in Overton, and I am the archaeologist and curator at the Lost City Museum, but I'm speaking merely as a professional archaeologist and as a member of the Clark County Site Steward team. There is actually, out of all the sites that have site stewards in Clark County, 40% of the damages are at Gold Butte. So you take all, I think there's 3.3 million acres in Clark County, and 40% of the vandalism and just site damage is at Gold Butte. And so that is why I support having Gold Butte as a national conservation area, because it will help to increase the protection of Gold Butte. And I also want to say that under the current resolution, no roads would be closed. I think that is a misnomer that's been going around, and I think it needs to be corrected. And yes, there will be wilderness areas that people will not have access to, but that is separate from the areas that have roads. And so I believe it's very important that we protect the cultural resources. That's an incredible jewel for archaeology. There's rock art from the ancestral Puebloans, the Patayans, the Paiutes. We need to maintain that. So I just hope that the City Council will support the resolution for Gold Butte, because it's very important, because if we don't protect it now, then it might not get protected. And I think if you look at 100 years ago, a lot of people thought Theodore Roosevelt was crazy for naming all these national forests and national monuments, but aren't we all thankful that they're here and protected? So I just hope that you will vote for the resolution to protect it. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and caution the crowd one last time. Please refrain from outbursts. We want to allow for all public comment, and those types of things, whether you're clapping or not, tend to influence people who may or may not wish to come up. Go ahead, sir.
Dwayne McGinn, 305 East, 1st South Street, Bunkerville. This last young lady made a good point. She said that 40% of the damage is happening out to Gold Butte. Leads me to wonder how well our land managers are doing. And so now we want to turn the rest of it over to them into a higher protective state. Guys, we're the best stewards of the land. We know what needs done. I have a ranch on the Arizona Strip in the high wilderness area. There's not a time that I don't go out there that I don't pick up trash from those who visit it. I don't have a problem doing my part. I don't think we need to go spend and waste a bunch of money to create a designation for something that really doesn't benefit anybody. I'd be willing to take anybody out to the wilderness area on the Black Rock Mountain and show them what I deal with. It's a great place. Not to say it's any better with the wilderness designation. Therefore, I would respectfully ask the council to consider the public input, the public to go take care of their land, because when you invest your time and your own money and your own efforts, you appreciate a lot more than paying somebody else to do it for you. Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Sheila Gustavison, and I'm a resident of the city of Mesquite. A number of people have been up here talking tonight, and they are definitely entitled to their opinion, and I enjoy listening to all of their opinions. However, you are the council of the city of Mesquite, not of Clark County, not of Bunkerville, not of Moapa. Please listen to the people who are citizens of Mesquite. Thank you.
My name's Donna Phelps, and I live at 502 Chalet Drive. And no, I'm not going to be here every Tuesday night. I'm really not totally familiar with the Gold Butte project, but I am familiar with the wilderness area. So if you're going to add wilderness to this 669, I've tried to read it and know what's going on. I would caution you to be very careful, because actually grazing is permitted. We run cattle in the National Forest in Gunnison, Colorado, in a wilderness area. And so if we are already there, and what I'm trying to say is, already, if there's cattle ranchers out there, then going to a wilderness area, you're not going to be able to take them off. So anyway, my point of this is, whatever you do with this resolution, on 669, be careful of the wilderness part of it. There's a whole sheet of questions and answers. Thank you.
David Ballwick, 1352 Amen Court. I'm a resident of Mesquite. I want to urge this council to repeal Resolution 669. I guess with that statement, I'm perceived as anti-environment, but that's not the case. For practical environmental controls and reasoned solutions for this. I've done a fair amount of research on the subject of Gold Butte and just cannot understand how adding NCA designation will provide any additional protection. We've heard other people make that, some examples of that. Why is there any advantage to add another federal level of government, federal control in Washington, D.C.? Unless the NCA is with the wilderness designation, there's no added protection. And with the wilderness designation, it effectively just locks the door to Gold Butte, to these areas. And the biggest deal is I think, is the council's on record right now of approving of the NCA when there's no defined NCA. There's just nothing defined. It's all open, it's all subjective. And because of this, we right now aren't at the table as part of these negotiations. There's been press releases where Interior Secretary Salazar and Brian Sandoval and Harry Reid have been with the meetings and come out with these great press releases from the Nevada Wilderness Project that tell how everything's hunky-dory. But we're not there to put our input into it. They have these quote home-style meetings, hometown-type meetings, town hall meetings, and they're not. They're just a sham. They're just a group of people that listen to themselves, agree with each other. And we've got to come to the table. And until we go on the record to say, look, we can't be for an NCA agreement because we don't even know what it is, and we're not at the table being able to allow to give our input to what this is going to be, we're going to be minimized because the perception is you guys are already for it. So we've got to come to the table, we've got to have some leverage to come to the table and be able to put our input into it. Thank you.
Dale Tobler, 691 Valley View Drive. Just got back from a 485-mile off-road trip this weekend. Seen wilderness areas, Marmon Mountains, wilderness area, Clover Mountains, wilderness area, Big Rock, wilderness area. Been all up through Nevada. We got so many wilderness areas now, and we didn't see maybe a handful of people out there. Where's the economic development? How does wilderness, how does an NCA give us economic development when there's nobody out there? I respectfully hope you guys rescind this, because I think that we as citizens can take better care of our own backyard than some government agency. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Roy Sutton. I live on Levitt Lane. I've lived here full-time for approximately a year. I've been coming here for 20 years off and on. I've trucked horses and mules over here. I've brought quads over from Oregon just to use and come out here and enjoy this different land. I've always been used to the mountains. This desert's quite intriguing to me. But everybody keeps talking about economic advantages here, or how to economically make this work. Well, I want to give you an example of how this does work. In fact, Los Padres National Forest, which is located in California, is administered from Bend, Oregon, currently. Now here some years ago, they decided to redesignate that particular national forest. And they didn't tell everybody exactly what that all meant. But they was going to do some real economic things there. It was going to boom. Well, what boomed was you had to pay a fee to get in through a gate in order to go and use your national forest. They even passed this thing that was called a wilderness permit. You had to purchase it in order to go into the wilderness there in Los Padres. Now, you had to have this pass in place. Now, you was allowed to drive through the wilderness provided you didn't stop. As long as those tires were rolling, you were fine. But as I found out 8 years ago, the minute those tires stopped rolling, if you stopped to take a picture, if you stopped to just watch somebody out of curiosity and you ain't got that wilderness pass on your windshield, you're subject to a citation. Now that's economic development, and that's what they're talking about here. This is where this is all going to end up. If you don't keep this place open, and that's the only way it can be called public lands, is when everybody gets a piece of the pie. There's enough out there for everybody to enjoy it. Everybody maybe could take a bigger part in the conservation of it and do more to help protect it. But the only way we can call it public lands is when it's kept public, when everybody gets to use it. Otherwise, we're going to end up with exactly what they've got over there. By the way, that was appealed, and that was all overturned. It was found to be unconstitutional. I don't know if the Forest Service reappealed it, but they found that was not right.
Hi, Council. My name is Terry Rylander. I live at 1285 Vista Del Monte Drive in Mesquite. We've had a house here, a home here, since 2004, so it's been, a few years now. We bought here as an investment for the beauty, for the activities that we get to do here in town and out in Gold Butte. One thing I wanted to correct about the wilderness area, currently there are no open roads in the wilderness area. So by designating that a wilderness area, you're not stopping anybody from going out there and doing anything they couldn't already do today. In Gold Butte, there are over 550 miles of open roads that will remain open with the designation of any kind. As far as economics, I can speak for myself personally that through the City Hall, and then directed to the chamber, and then directed to me personally because they know I like to go out there and take pictures. 2 weeks ago, I took 2 folks who heard about some places out in Gold Butte and are photographers, and they contacted City Hall, contacted the chamber, contacted me, and said, would you like to take these guys out here? So these are 2 tourists who are out on a Southwest photography vacation that heard about Gold Butte of all places, in addition to places like Death Valley and Bryce and Zion and Grand Canyon, and they came out to Gold Butte. They stayed in the town, they spent money in our town, just got contacted yesterday by 2 more folks out of Boston who heard about Gold Butte from their friends in Europe. So I thought that was interesting too. So the word is out there, people are coming. This is my own personal experience. Here I am with 4 people who heard about it all the way around the world. So we can't hide our heads in the sand any longer, and we can't pretend that things won't change and people will come here, because they will. And so we need to do what we need to do, take care of Gold Butte, protect it, bring the resources to town, to bring the economic value to our town, and protect all of our home investments as well. Thank you.
Mayor, City Council, my name is Tony Barron. I reside at 1145 Dry Falls Bend in Mesquite. There's no new arguments going on here, really. We've all heard these. There's straw men have been taking a fairly hard beating tonight, which I'm disappointed at. As Terry said, there are no roads to be closed in any proposals, no fees to be charged in any proposals. That's all distractions. But in a greater sense, I think the proposal really is not about Gold Butte at all, or it is obviously, but in a greater sense, it's not. When we moved here, we got rid of our 2 old cars and we picked up a Subaru Outback. And being lazy, we got one with automatic transmission. And that car has what they call a continuously variable transmission. It doesn't have fixed gears. So instead of a choice on the gear shift lever of reverse 1-2 drive or reverse slow drive, there's only 2 choices, forward or backward. And those are the 2 choices Mesquite has, forward or backward. To move forward, you need to support this proposal and move in that direction that suggests, or you can turn around and move backward. And I don't think we really want to do that. So I urge your support for the proposal. Thank you.
Sam River, 990 Lovett Lane, Mesquite, Nevada. I'm a newcomer. I was born in 1941. I've been here ever since. I've been out to Gold Butte a lot of times, on horseback, on foot, 4-wheelers, Jeeps, trucks, and you know what? It's worse now that more people are going out there. You can't even dodge the potholes on the road that goes out there now. 20 years ago, nobody heard about Gold Butte, and it was beautiful, much more beautiful now then than now. My question is, are we going forward or are we going backwards? I'd like to preserve it for my ancestors too, to enjoy the same things that I've enjoyed. But more people doesn't really make it better, whether it's economics or not. The more traffic you got, 10 years ago, you didn't hear about all the graffiti that's on those petroglyphs, but you do now. My question is, are we going to go forward or are we going to go backwards? A lot of people think there's a lot of economics that we can gain from it, but I'm not too sure. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie Parker. I live at 583 Duchess Lane. I'm a resident of Mesquite. I don't know a lot about economics and I don't know a lot about anything else everybody's talking about, but I totally support preserving this Gold Butte. We're far away from our family, but our families do come down and visit us, and it would be nice for us to be able to take them out to see Gold Butte. There's not a lot to do in this town. You either go to the movies, the casinos, or the bars. And it would just be nice to have something other than that in Mesquite to do. Thank you.
Evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Jim Stanger. I'm a resident of Las Vegas, 5355 South Rainbow. I'm not a resident of Mesquite, I am a visitor. When I've gotten to love Mesquite, actually. It's a great home base to do a lot of local adventuring, go out and explore Gold Butte or some of the other places around. And when I tell my friends about that area, I usually try and direct them to websites that sort of spell out how great it is and what the benefits are. And when I send them to the Mesquite destination websites, I see a lot of information on there about Grand Canyon or other places that are hours away. And they ask me, well, where's the information on Gold Butte? I don't know. There's a lot of information. There's more and more information out there. More and more people are hearing about it. I would encourage you to, people are coming. More and more people are going to be coming and visiting. I would encourage you to perhaps plan ahead and please continue to consider protection, because whether or not people are coming, and if there's a litter problem now, if there's a cultural resource destruction problem now, it's only going to get worse. Local residents are helping out, and perhaps it's working now, but in the future, that may not be the case. Quick point to the economic development. Again, when I want to visit the Grand Canyon, I unlikely to stop in Mesquite. I might stop here to pick up gas, maybe, if I hadn't, tanked up in Las Vegas already. But when I come here to visit Gold Butte with some of the other local areas, I come here, I buy gas here, I eat Mexican food here, I bring my friends to the restaurants, we spend money here. So, I think in a couple of years, it's going to be a very great point of pride for Mesquite to say, look what a great backyard we have. Just please make sure that it's still around in a great shape for people to appreciate. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ann Bly, and I live at 1184 Clouds Rest Point in Mesquite. We've owned a house since 5 years ago, 2007. And I just wanted to say that I personally am in support of Gold Butte as an NCA. And I feel this way because, people have been talking about people knowing about Gold Butte. There is a lot of people nationally who are interested in Gold Butte, who want to come out to Gold Butte. And it's not just a couple of people going in there anymore. There's a lot of people. And so the area needs to be protected. And we can't just, as individuals, take care of it. We go out there, we try to protect it, but we need some oversight here. I'd also like to say something about the resolution. A lot of us who support Gold Butte were not particularly happy about the resolution, but I don't think anybody was happy with the resolution. And maybe that's what makes it a good resolution, because nobody was really happy with it because everybody got a little bit of something and not everybody getting everything that they wanted. But one thing we did put in that resolution, was that all the stakeholders are going to get involved. All the local stakeholders are going to get involved in trying to steer the direction of Gold Butte in the future. And I think that was, I know it's really hard to get all the stakeholders in the room to agree on anything, but at least we're going to have a voice here. And I think that's great that Mesquite has put out this resolution saying that we need to have the stakeholders involved. And I know there's a concern about funding for Gold Butte. And I don't know that that's an issue because, again, I get a lot of correspondence from different environmental groups and different groups of that sort, and they all are in favor of Gold Butte. There's national interest in this area. So once it's established as an NCA, it's not like everyone's going to go home and forget about it. It's going to be there's going to be continuing interest in this area to maintain the funding and oversight. And I believe that we could make Gold Butte as an NCA workable for the people with the ATVs, for the hikers, for the RVs. I think it can be done. And the roads can be maintained, as one gentleman was talking about, the roads not being maintained. If we had government funding to assist us, BLM funding to assist us, the roads might be maintained.
Thanks, Ann.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to take a minute. I'm Jay Tobler, and I live on 240 West, 2nd North Street. I've also lived here all my life. My father lived here all of his life. I know about Gold Butte area. I remember when Tuffy was talking about the cows running out there. They run about 1,000 head of cows out there. BLM come in, chased the cows off. The grass grew up. And here a few years ago, guess what? The whole place burned down. Joshua's, it doesn't even look the same anymore as when I was a kid. And that's with BLM's control. I say government, stay out of it. Let us as individuals here in the city take care of the place. I think we do a lot better job than what they can. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, my name is John Erickson. I live at 690 South Ridge over at Sunset Greens. And I am a snowbird, so I'm not here all year long. But I have read in the paper what's going on, and you know, this is going to continue to be a resource for this community and other communities doing here in Vegas. I don't know how else you control it unless you get in there and everybody get to sit around the table and have a say on it. Because otherwise, there's going to be some guy that got elected that doesn't know diddly squat. You're going to decide what you're going to do. And that's the way that's politics. Period. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Gentis. I'm a resident of Clark County, residing in Las Vegas, but spending most weekends in this wonderful place called Gold Butte. Feel really fortunate that I moved here from the Midwest to Nevada. The first day, no. The first year, no. But when I started noticing the wonderful landscapes and the wonderful places that we have here, I spend most of my weekends, most of my free time in Nevada, going to beautiful places. And I am in support of the resolution. I've heard people talk about about not having a say and the government doing what they want. And I was reading the things in the Desert View about the inclusions that give people a choice in what to do. And I have been part of the group that has been working on finding a national designation for Gold Butte. And when we did, we heard there were a lot of different people in the group and a lot of different interests. And the National Conservation Area provides for multi-interest, multi-use. Different than national park or national monument that just happens when the president says that. So that's why I would support National Conservation Area. 30 years ago when I moved here, 35 when I moved here, nobody was out there. There wasn't even a need for that. But as the city has grown, Red Rock even changed from when I moved there, and it was, I think, a city park and then a state park. Because of the population, there was a need for a change in how Red Rock was run to preserve it. So I am supportive of the resolution. Is that a bigger laugh than you got, or not? I think you got the biggest. I know, I'm not that funny, sorry. I'm just sort of bumbly. Anyway, I am in support of the resolution, and thank you for your time.
I'm Lynn Davis. I'm a resident of Clark County. I live in Las Vegas, and I'd rather do anything than speak in front of a group. And I didn't have intention to speak, but I did come up here today to support the vision that was made with the resolution early on. 2 in 10 visitors who come to Las Vegas report traveling to a national park, a national monument, the Hoover Dam. That's 8 million people last year. Many people are driving up the I-15 and going to Zion. And you have an opportunity to capture some of those people who are looking for more than to stay in the casinos. And I greatly respect this community and the fact that you have a legacy here and a pioneer legacy. I lived for a long time in Wyoming and Utah, and I saw that same feeling there of being very careful about what the government controls. But also, I mean, it was a Utah congressman who started the National Park Service and started building up protected areas. And Utah has benefited greatly from having a number of protected areas. I would question the fact that Escalante hasn't worked out. I think that there's a lot of data that would contradict that. But I would urge you to consider the fact that You have an opportunity to draw a lot of people from Las Vegas up here to this great community. Thank you.
Gilman Hafen, Mesquite, Nevada. Live in Old Mill Road. I wrote my stuff down here. Got a few things to talk about. When I was growing up here, we were all friends. Mesquite, Bunkerville, Overton, Logandale. When did we become so pompous that we can tell Bunkerville and Overton and Logandale what to do with Gold Butte? Another point is, the lady talked about the Park Service or whatever. I think that was started by a private citizen and then taken over by the government. Another point, there's some former elected officials here that were for the NCS, and one gentleman talked about voting for your officials. Notice they are former, and they're not up there anymore. Also, I want to talk about the vandalism. My grandpa built corrals up there with his own hands, with the trees that were there. Those are vandalized. Those are gone. I never hear about anybody complaining about those being gone. It's just when petroglyphs or something else vandalized. To me, those are as beautiful as anything out there. Also, the people are saying what needs to be done. They're saying no roads are going to be closed. Everything's going to be the same. Then leave it alone. It doesn't need to be fixed. And also, all you got to do is watch the news and talk about our federal government and how they're making money for us. I don't think so. You can look at California. They've had to shut down their parks, state and national parks, because there's no money. If we do an NCS out here and we run out of money, guess what? Nobody gets to use it. And then I have this thing, everybody moves to Mesquite because they love it. Well, why do you move here and then try to change it? Leave it how it is. There's nothing wrong with it. I appreciate your time, and I hope you do the right thing. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, my name's John Williams. I live in Mesquite at 980 Crestview. And I'm strongly in support of continuing the resolution for supporting an NCA for this area. And several straw men have been thrown out here. There was discussion about a study done by Utah State University. Of course, that study dealt only with wilderness areas designated as a wilderness. Yeah, some of those didn't show much growth or economic development because you can't do a whole lot in a wilderness area. This is not what we're asking for. Less than 20%, significantly less than 20% of the Gold Butte area is slated to be designated as wilderness, and it is areas that do not have road access or visitor access now. Every road that is there today, every area that is accessible, will still be accessible under an NCA designation. We've also heard a lot of people talk about the damage and the vandalism that's going on. If we don't protect it, it will get destroyed. And the only way to protect it, is the city of Mesquite going to protect it? Don't think so. Send our police out. Is Clark County going to do it? No, they're not doing it. The only group that has the resources is our federal government by setting the rules and regulations about how it can be used. It's not going to be a national park. There's going to be no admission charge. We have to protect it. I've had 4 families come here and visit me in the last year. Took them all out there, every one of them, different times, and saw the petroglyphs. 2 of them bought homes in the last year in this economy. 2 more are just waiting to sell their other homes to move to this area. Yes, everybody does like it, but if we let it get destroyed, if we let those things that bring people here get destroyed by overuse and vandalism, that will no longer be the case, and the value of what we have here will diminish. Please, I urge you to do what the citizens of Mesquite need, and that is continue your support for the resolution. Thank you.